Do you support Donald Trump?
My brother does, and he's right next to me.
For sure. How old is he?
He's 21.
For sure. So, why do you support Donald Trump, brother?
Um, I just like more of his policies more than Kamala Harris.
Which policies?
Um, in regards to the economy, I do think his his tax policies, the way he lowers the overall tax and then also got rid of income tax, I think that definitely
He
was
didn't get rid of income tax, and also
or
his overall tax policy will reduce the benefits for the low and middle class, specifically for people who rely on benefits from the federal government, such as Medicaid and food stamps. You know that almost $1 trillion in Medicaid will be cut, along with $200 billion in food stamps.
yes, and sorry, and I and you can argue for that, and some of that money was confirmed to be wasted by the Doge Department. Some of that money definitely was not going to people who either are alive or
That's just
people
not
who.
true. That's completely made up.
So when the
There was no
Doge Department,
evidence that like it was going to people that were not alive. If that were true, that would be fraud, and there would be criminal charges applied to those people. I would like to hear where any of these criminal charges were applied.
I mean, I guess you're right. There weren't criminal charges applied, and there's also, I mean, just because there weren't criminal charges applied doesn't mean that the crimes didn't happen.
Yeah, but it means
There's
that
a
we don't
there's
have
a lot
reason to
of
believe that they even happened in the first place.
well, because the DOG department showed social security numbers. They showed social security accounts that had birthdays that were all the way in the 1800s,
Oh yeah, I'd love to
and
see.
some
I love
birthdays
to
that
see. I
weren't.
love to see one example of someone who was born in the 1800s receiving Social Security. Like I'd love to see one example of that.
Well, I mean, I have to bring up. I'd have to search the exact. I mean, okay. Okay, I mean, granted, I don't have the exact article where they said it's on. So,
Well, like Doge
and
specifically, when referencing the claims that they have on quote unquote waste, didn't describe how it's considered waste, just that they think it's waste themselves.
well, if can we at least agree that if someone is either if someone's birth date is either way too old to even be alive, like in the 200 years old,
Yeah,
or
I
any
would agree.
birthday
I would
that
agree that would be a problem that they're getting
okay,
Social
and then
Security, but there's no evidence to indicate that we have people born in the 1800s getting Social Security.
well they, I mean they did post it like
Dude,
on the
I'm sorry.
official
You think
Doge
someone
website.
140 years old is getting Social Security?
Well, not maybe that specific person, but someone who either an account with that number or someone who stole the account. Because
So someone's committing identity theft.
yeah,
Okay, so
that's a definite possibility.
isn't identity theft currently illegal under the law?
There's a lot of things currently illegal under the law.
Okay, so if it's currently illegal under the law, then how specifically did Elon Musk limit it?
What do you mean?
How did it limit it? How did he limit it at all?
Well,
Like
you
the
could.
from happening?
Well, you can't stop identity fraud from happening.
Yeah,
The problem,
you don't stop identity theft from happening by cutting Medicaid. Can you explain to me how that's the process in which you stop identity theft?
it's they were they stopped giving funds to accounts that were possibly giving or possibly committing
Dude, I
identity.
agree with you. If there's someone born in 1800, right, we shouldn't be giving them Medicaid,
And
Medicare, or any social programs because they're not alive.
and that's and
But
those
like,
and that's part of the
the thing
reason
is,
why.
you've been propagandized into believing that that set of conditions is true in order to justify people engaging in Medicaid cuts to give tax cuts to millionaires and billionaires. You're serving
So
the interests of millionaires and billionaires explicitly because you've been propagandized into believing that they're cutting quote unquote waste when they're cutting your neighbor's Medicaid.
So there's no instance of someone committing identity theft. There's no
I'm not
instance
saying there's no
maybe,
instances. I'm just saying that
maybe
the
not even identity
wait. Oh,
theft.
let me
Maybe
clarify.
just
Let me clarify.
okay.
I'm not saying there's no instances of identity theft. What I'm saying is the cuts specifically implied, particularly within the big beautiful bill, don't even make a differentiation to identify that based upon whether or not they committed fraud. There's nothing in the bill that says if they committed fraud, if they committed identity theft, then this should be taken from them. They specifically changed the work requirements, right? So that it would make it harder for people to get access to Medicaid who literally cannot afford it.
And I can't argue with that. And I personally do not support the big beautiful bill. I think that it's
I didn't know
too
that.
it's too vague. It's too bloated with unnecessary words and documents, and it's very much kind of goes against the whole idea of reducing government spending because it really just shifts where that spending goes. So the beautiful bill, I agree. I don't really support.
Okay.
It's just
What of Trump's do you support?
I guess one of the main things would be the border crisis, the
What
fact.
about the border? Could you name a specific policy relating to the border that you support?
I mean, just actually, you know, supporting or at least trying to enforce our border laws, not
So to
allowing.
clarify, you don't think under the Biden-Harris administration they were enforcing border laws? So
No,
you think Border Patrol agents just stopped enforcing the border when the Biden-Harris administration was in office?
well, yeah,
Yeah,
because
what did they do to do that? How,
yes and no. In the sense of enforcing the laws, they were technically doing that, but they were not. What all they were doing was taking illegal immigrants who, quote unquote, seeking asylum, and then just shipping, and then just putting them into cities that or sanctuary cities that would house them. They were
okay,
not
by the way, I just want to let you know,
under the.
the asylum process is a legal process, right? And
It,
it is the case the legal process of asylum, right, is totally fine and legitimate. There's nothing wrong with that process of asylum. The only wrong thing with the process of asylum is that the court cases take too long to go through, specifically because it is the case that the system is backed up and we don't have enough people within the context of the court system to make the cases go quicker. And so then, like, if we actually passed any sort of bill, even one that Democrats were advocating for, like the bipartisan border bill, we would have had more immigration judges to go over these asylum cases.
okay, and so would the solution be by just letting illegal immigrants who made a claim to seek asylum just go into
Wait, I
cities?
just want people seeking asylum are going
Yes.
through a legal process. They're not undocumented immigrants. They're going through a legal process. If you want to reference anyone, here's my position. Anyone in the country who has not committed a violent crime or bad crime should be given a pathway to citizenship. Every single person who has not committed a violent crime or bad crime. Why? Because they benefit our country. They make our country a better place. And there's no reason to deport them, right? If it is the case that they've not committed a violent crime or bad crime. The whole reason why there is an immigration system in the very first place is to ensure the safety and security of our population. And simply deporting someone who has not committed a violent crime or bad crime is not making this country safer by any means.
Okay, so how is letting people just into the country who do not support our values, who do not share our
What
values,
values?
I mean, I guess just the regular American values of democracy.
What happened to free
The,
speech? And democracy. So you mean if they were a Trump supporter? So like you wouldn't let them in the country if they don't, value our democracy, our rule of law, our constitution, our court system, right?
yes,
Oh, that's literally Donald Trump's ideology. He undermines our court system by saying the 2020 election was stolen with no evidence, even though there's 60 plus courts indicating that he lost the election. Plus, he's held civilly liable of a woman. He thinks that that's bull. He was criminally convicted of 34 felonies. He thinks that that's bull. Right? That's ridiculous. Obviously, he didn't care about the court cases that convicted people who literally police officers on January 6th, so he pardoned those violent rioters. He also doesn't care about the Constitution. He called for the termination of all rules, regulations, and articles, even those found in the Constitution. I mean, those are all examples of him violating core, fundamental American values.
all right, and so to my argument to that, Hillary Clinton did the same thing in 2016. She, without any evidence, for 4 years, for actually 8 years, she and other Democrats, including Nancy Pelosi, claimed that Trump stole the 2016 election and Russia helped him steal it. They had no evidence, and when they took it to the Supreme Court twice, the courts shut it down. They said there was no
Wrong.
evidence.
They did not
Right.
claim that Donald Trump stole the 2020 election. There was just an investigation of collusion, and they did find collusion of members on Trump's administration and Russia colluding to then to change the election results in 2016. That was a fact. We also saw that Russia interfered in the 2016 election. That was a fact. Now, they couldn't demonstrate specifically collusion between Trump and Russia, but there were people on his administration that absolutely colluded with Russia.
And so there was also no, so then we would also have to say there was evidence of in the 2020 election that there was evidence of election fraud, ballot harvesting. There, to say that there was
No,
kind
actually,
of
the 2020 election was the
manipulation
safest.
happening.
No, the 2020 election was the safest election in recorded history. It was safer than 2016.
But how? How was it safer when there was on video evidence of ballot harvesting of
60 plus court cases indicated no sufficient evidence to overturn the election. You say there were
Sufficient
all these
evidence-
videos. You say there were all these videos of quote unquote ballot harvesting. How come they were not put through the court system insofar as they demonstrated an overturning of the election results? Because a lot of these videos were proven to be bullshit, fake, and lies, and or not enough reason to overturn the election.
So, and these videos, the reason why they weren't allowed to even be used as evidence is because the areas that these videos took place in places like Pennsylvania, the courts would not allow investigations.
They did do investigations. They did audits. They had court cases, and they all determined
Not
no
in
sufficient
Pennsylvania.
evidence.
In Pennsylvania, they did not allow any sort of investigation or audits.
Well, wait. In Pennsylvania, you're saying there was no audit.
The courts did not allow it. And then,
Really, you think no audit in Pennsylvania?
okay, maybe they did do an audit, but they did not do they wouldn't allow an in-depth investigation for any election malpractice.
They did. That's what an audit is. What is an audit? What is an audit?
There wasn't sufficient
Hey,
evidence.
what's an audit?
Okay.
Just calm down.
I am perfect, Tom. I'm just not. I'm just telling you.
You're fine.
I don't want to do this.
Oh,
I can't tell you.
Hey, man, I'm not trying to put you on the spot.
No,
to be
I get it.
rude. I'm just saying, like, an audit absolutely is going to clarify whether or not, like, the election was, like, had any type of tampering to it. Like, and we do know that the 2020 election was not stolen. The idea that it was stolen is Republican misinformation and propaganda that Donald Trump literally perpetuated in order to be able to try to stay in power, which he failed at.
Okay, but every politician claims that there's a reason why they lost the election.
Wait, no. Can you tell me where Tim Walz and Kamala Harris said that they won the 2024 election? Where did they make those claims?
they didn't.
You know what? You're right. They didn't.
You know what I mean? And honestly, and to be totally honest with you, they could have. They could have totally done that. You know, there were actually some people on the left that were saying that. They could have easily exploited that.
All right.
Just like how Donald Trump did. But they didn't, and that shows integrity.
I mean, again, they did it in 2016. I'm not, regardless, the past is the past, whatever. Regardless of what president of what won which election, we can make arguments day and night about who should have won. It didn't matter who should have. All that matters is who did won. Trump won 2016. He lost 2020. Regardless of whoever wants to say, right?
Okay, but isn't it like showing that he doesn't care about the election results, our democratic processes, our rule of law, our court system, and our constitution, when not only does he specifically undermine the election results in 2020 by denying 60 plus courts that indicated no sufficient evidence to overturn the election, but he also called for the termination of all rules, regulations, and articles, even those found in the constitution. I do have to remove you because you got a violation for civic and election integrity. So I actually have to go on to the next person. I appreciate you coming up, But I actually have to go on to the next person. TikTok is really, really strict today. Hey everyone, thank you so much for watching this video. I really appreciate it. Make sure to check out some of the other videos that I posted on my channel. Plus, you can watch my daily live streams where I debate people every single day on this YouTube channel. Just make sure to subscribe and like the video if you have not already. And have a fantastic day, everyone.